Lindsay!
Yes, do not look her over. Lindsay Carmine, 42 years old from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, a pediatric nurse.
Okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, so Lindsay, she'll talk about it more in her interview. She is a natural caretaker, both from her occupation and from her family. So this is very much like something for mom. Like I love this game ever since it first came out. I'm gonna come out and be able to play the game that I want to play, obviously considering my family back home, but like this is my opportunity to be selfish.
Okay. All right. So for her being there is something for mom. You're not saying like this is something for mom to watch the new season. Here's Lindsay.
Yeah, no. Not like hey, if your mom out there needs another mom to watch, here comes Lindsay.
Okay, I thought that was what you're saying.
That'd be something interesting. We're like, oh, something for dad. Here comes Mike
here's
Gabler.
here's Roxroy. Something for dad to relate to.
Something for grandma. Have you met Jillian?
Okay. All right. Anything else about Lindsay you want to set up before we listen to Lindsay?
No, Lindsay, is someone who has been through a lot in the past couple of years, being on the front lines of the pandemic. We hear this a lot from a lot of the medical professionals that have played, and of course, like our salutes to those that were able to do so. And I think, understandably, that resilience and just immense amount of emotional and mental strain. Hopefully, comparatively, this will just be a walk in the park.
Okay. All right. Let's hear Lindsay.
Why are you here on Survivor?
That's a loaded question. I have been applying to play Survivor since I was 20 years old, so 22 years. But probably like 7 years ago, I started really actively applying after I watched my mom suffer from breast cancer, and then I had 2 life-threatening miscarriages. And I was ready to do something for myself. I had supported my husband through law school and kind of establishing his career. And I had 2 children, and I kind of got my career off the ground. And I'm the type of person where I just love giving to others. I have a servant's heart. And so I'm constantly doing stuff for other people. And it was time for me to finally just do something for myself.
What's your history with watching Survivor?
I'm unapologetically like a super fan. I have been watching since season 1, episode 1. My mom sat me down at the very first episode of season 1, and she said, Lindsay, I've got something to show you. There is this game that is perfect for you. And I sat down and I watched it, and my family and I have been watching ever since. And I knew deep down in the soul and core of my body that I would be playing Survivor someday. I didn't know when it would happen, but I knew that it would. I am part of all of the Patreon groups, and I have a Wiggler's Wombats hat. I'm in like 3 Survivor fantasy pools. I eat, breathe, and sleep Survivor. So I'm really excited to be here.
Potato.
Oh my God.
Or should I say, stop right there?
Yes. Should she have worn the Wiggler's Wombats hat out on Survivor?
That would not have been allowed for various reasons.
They might have flagged that. Yeah.
Maybe if it was just a picture of a wombat, like how Omer wore the emu shirt,
Smart.
maybe they would get away with that. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I haven't asked Josh about this as to like, did Lindsay win one? Was this a self-purchased Wiggler's Wombats hat?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think, is this the first
Maybe
wand
she's post
offer?
recaps Patreon.
Though I think, doesn't there that thing with Chris Underwood that like he had previously sent in a wand off before he was on Survivor?
Yes. No, he sent one in while he was on Survivor.
That's what it is. Okay. I was trying to think if there were any other like previous wand offers who had been on Survivor, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually there's a Big Brother Canada winner who sent in a wand off before he went on Big Brother.
That's what it is. Yes. Well, hopefully Lindsay will follow in that trend. We're 2 for 2 Wiggler's Wombats hat wearers end up winning the season. But yeah, Lindsay, super duper fan. She is in 3 Survivor fantasy pools. I wonder if she was in league with Cassidy beforehand and they know each other.
That would be if they have stakes. Like, oh, I hate this person from my Survivor pool.
Yeah, exactly. At CC6969 is going down. I don't know who it is, but I feel like it's her.
All right. Let's hear more about Lindsay.
Give me one Survivor winner and one non-winner who you identify with the most.
Sure, absolutely. The one Survivor winner that I think I identify with the most would definitely be Natalie Anderson. Not only is she a wonderful social player and she's very strategic, but she's a challenge beast. I mean, she has a lot of grit and determination. And like her, I'm the type of person that I rise to every challenge and I never give up. Sari, I mean, and I'm not even necessarily sure that I identify with her, and I see a lot of similarities with the two of us, aside from the fact that we're both nurses and we have children. But there's nothing that makes me happier than when Sari Fields comes on my television screen.
What's your favorite moment in Survivor history?
Oh my gosh. There's so many really good moments. I'm a huge fan of the Black Widow Brigade. So I would say anything that involves a blind side with them. I also just recently finished Winners at War, and I loved when Denise received an immunity idol from Sandra and then used it against her to vote her out of the game. It was so badass is what it is. And I think I love that it was Denise. One of my biggest fears in playing Survivor is that I am one of the oldest out here. And historically, women my age make it to the end. They just don't win. And so when you think about somebody that's over 40 that has last won the game, it's been Denise. And I would love to be the next person to do that. So
what's one life experience you...
Yes.
Yeah, so I misspoke before. Actually, Lindsay is the one in her bio who does the which Survivor player will you play the game most like? Natalie, mental and physical strength. Sarah, strategic. Michelle, social. Carla named Sari once again as who she would play the game most like. So Lindsay is the one that's doing the Frankenstein's monster. Though in the course of these answers, she really implied that Natalie was the full package.
Okay. Apologies to Carla for getting that wrong.
Yeah, but I think that her invoking Natalie when it comes to like the challenge beast aspect is interesting to me because look, I'll admit, I don't necessarily look at Lindsay and see like this is someone who's going to kick butt in the challenges, nor does her career really inform that. But if indeed like fitness is part of her life and she talks about like some of her favorite hobbies is exercising and doing a lot of traveling. So she could be someone who proves to be a very capable asset for her tribe.
Yeah. Does she have some sort of sports in her background?
I'm not sure what she does say what is something we should never know from looking at you. She said, people are mostly surprised at how competitive I am, especially as I get older. It's as if people think I should have outgrown that phase of my life by now. I come across as non-threatening, and it is very intentional on my part. That is going to help me in the game. So it might just be she has like a history of various small, non-main competitive sports, but just has a lot of drive and fitness in her background.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to Lindsay.
What's one life experience you feel has prepared you most for the game?
So like I said, I am a registered nurse and I have been working the front line of this pandemic for the past 2 years. I would definitely say it's one of the hardest and most challenging things I have ever been through. And I've realized that if I can go through that, I can handle anything.
What excites you the most about the new era of Survivor?
I think the thing that excites me most about this new era of Survivor is the pace. I've been watching since season 1, episode 1. And so I've been able to watch the game change organically. Some of these players that I'm going to be going up against, they're young. And so they've had a lot of catching up to do. But I'm excited to see if I can handle this high-paced, really fast way of playing the game. There's also a lot more advantages and twists, and I want to see if I've got what it takes to handle it. So,
what do you think people will perceive you as?
I definitely think I'm going to be the underdog of the season. I was born and raised in the South, so I definitely have a lot of Southern hospitality, but I spent a lot of years living in Philly. And if you know anything about anyone that's from Philly, is that we don't take shit from anybody. So I think people are going to be really surprised with how much I'm willing to backstab.
Potato, how eager will you?
Yes.
Rob, I think this is James's opposite. I think this is the one that he's looking at in
Mm-hmm.
the game right now. He was looking for that one person, right, who isn't someone that he normally associate with, who might fill different other niches that he might not be able to get to. And I think the fact that they have a shared background in Philadelphia, I think I'm seeing some brotherly love here in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, that's an interesting to go there. I could see it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, or at least something they can initially connect over. What did you make about her statement that she feels like she'll be the underdog of the season, whether it be like her age, her gender, the fact that she does come from this more like genteel, Southern background that makes people assume she'll just be hospitable. Come on in, y'all. I'm on the porch with a pitcher of lemonade. I'm assuming that's what happens in the South.
I don't know if she's necessarily the underdog of the season. I'm sure from her perspective, I'm sure she's coming in as the underdog of the season, but I don't know if she's going to be edited that way. I mean, that was kind of the edit that like Heather got at points in Survivor 41, but it was more because, in fairness to Heather, like she kind of like was so hapless in the challenges. I think that's where the underdog came from.
Right. We just need to see how Lindsay will do in that challenge where you throw the ball down the chute, and we'll see truly if she is an underdog or not.
It was like, she never gives up, but I don't think that is what Lindsay really is going for or hoping for.
I mean, certainly not hoping for. To your point, it remains to be seen as to whether or not it will end up happening. It should also be mentioned, actually, comparing to Heather, who I think had some surprising outdoor skills and experience that wasn't necessarily shown on the show. One of Lindsay's hobbies is gardening as well. So I can imagine her. Really, we talked about this last time with Vessi, Rob, right? Like her being the camp mom, I think I'm really seeing on this tribe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's hear the rest of what Lindsay has to say.
How eager will you be to look for advantages in the game?
I'm not going to be actively looking for advantages to the point where it is going to be detrimental to my game. While I think advantages are important to have, I think it's also important to know where the advantages are. Advantages are only as good as the person who's playing them correctly. So if one comes my way, then I'm going to be excited, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my spot in the game in order to find them.
What's the one thing you told yourself you wouldn't do in this game?
The one thing that I said I would not do in this game is intentionally hurt somebody's feelings. I'm extremely sensitive, and I try to be hyper aware of other people's feelings. I know that this is a game and that the whole point of it is to be the last man standing, but I'm not going to personally attack anybody.
Okay. That's Lindsay.
Yeah. So surprise, surprise. I'm of a couple of minds about Lindsay as well. I think through talking about her over the course of this interview, I don't think she'll be in trouble in the pre-merge, at least not from what I'm seeing. I think she can make this bond with someone like James. I think it's interesting that like her and Carla, do talk about this like Black Widow Brigade thing and how they'd love to see it happen. I could possibly see like a women's alliance forming, or at least like a loose agreement between the three women, between the two of them and Cassidy on Coco. Where I have reservations is, and it's understandable given her occupation, does Lindsay have the killer instinct? She talks about not wanting to hurt people's feelings. She talks about having a servant's heart. Is there going to be a point where she is told you have to like cut one of your closest allies to progress further in the game? If she cares about someone to a certain point, I don't know if she'll have it within her to be able to do that. So for me, she's very much giving me vibes in this moment of someone I think could make it far, like as far as the finale. But I think for one reason or another is not necessarily perceived or able to do things that would put her in a better place to win the game.
I feel like she was somebody that we didn't get a lot of how she is going to play the game in terms of what she was saying. We found a little bit about, not going and looking too much for the advantages. But unless I missed it, do you have a sense of how she's going to play?
No, I think it's very much about like, I'm going to be underestimated because of my age, because of my size, and because like I'm nice, but in behind the scenes, that's going to allow me to make the moves that I want to make. So it seems like that's going to be her initial approach, is like come across as that warm, southern, motherly type. And then when she's able to get that social capital, spend it and make the moves that she wants to do. Again, my holdup is if whether or not she's able to really capitalize on that ladder.
Yeah. And I feel like that is a formula that has not gone well for a lot of the survivor moms, of the sort of like, okay, let me get in everybody's good graces and then I'll make these moves when it happens. So that is the plan, that hopefully she has a different way to, sort of frame that at the final tribal council.
Yeah. So a couple of other highlights from her bio. Pet peeves: people that cut in line, smacking gum, and when people play games on their phone and don't put the phone on silent. Luckily, I think all three will not be happening in Survivor unless there's sort of line that I'm not aware of.
Maybe there's a line cutting. Yeah. When you are waiting like in the pregame for like to eat, it's like cafeteria style.
Or even in the camp, right? If it's like, okay, rice is on and someone's like cutting in front of you to get their portion, that could be something that causes a big kerfuffle.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot from Lindsay's video either. She talks a lot about how being a nurse has allowed her to like thrive in chaos. She does say that playing Survivor will allow her to take risks that she can't in her everyday life. I don't know if that just means like living out in the jungle with your underwear for a month, or like cutting your best friend in the game. I'm not entirely sure, but I do think that Lindsay, she also invokes some advice that her dad gave her, which is, if you're in the last mile of a marathon, are you going to speed up or are you going to slow down? And so, indeed, if Lindsay does make it to the end game, maybe this is a thing where like she then just decides to go balls to the wall, super cutthroat at the end. And I don't know if that would do well in front of a jury.
All right, Mike, anything else about Lindsay?
No, I'm very excited for Lindsay. Again, I think she has a solid chance of making it far. And I'd love to see her essentially invoke like what she loved about what Denise did, right? In betraying Sandra directly, and be able to do that as well. Because I think that's the one component to me that I think is missing from her game.